I'm Paul Stanzik, and this is the Hello Operator podcast. And if you're listening to this, there's a pretty good chance that you're either an investor or an investor-backed executive. It's who I write for, after all. Thanks for coming. And one of the hard things about working inside of an investor-backed business is you're kind of caught in this love triangle. What do I mean by love triangle? Well, you've got your team, all the people that report to you. You've got your CEO, somebody running this thing who's in charge of making the company successful. You want to be in that person's good graces. And then you have your investors, and you want them to like you too. That is a tough dynamic to navigate. Your team needs things from you. Your CEO wants things from you. And you know those investor people, they've got preferences too, even though you don't know what they are. And that's what today's podcast is about. A few weeks ago, I wrote something called How to Make Your Investors Fall in Love with You. And I'm going to read it for you. Because if you work inside an investor-backed business, understanding what it is that your investors want for the company and want to see from you is important. And there's a difference between the people that flame out in year one or year two and the people that stick around for the long haul, long enough to make an impact and long enough to do work that they're proud of, long enough to be part of this exit thing you've heard so much about. So that's what this is about. Thanks for listening. Here's how to make your investors fall in love with you. In this article, I'm going to tell you a secret. But first, a bit of context. Your investors, all kinds of investors, private equity, venture capital, growth equity, whatever, are working across an entire portfolio of companies. That means they probably have something like 5 to 15 businesses to get to know and 5 to 15 management teams to build relationships with. That part is obvious. Here's what isn't. Here's the secret. Your investors absolutely have favorite management teams, like a few teams in the portfolio they're genuinely excited to hear from. Teams where they see the calendar invite for the board meeting and they think, oh, good, instead of, oh, God. Think about it from the investor's side for a second. From my side, we're looking at the same basic data across our entire portfolio. Revenue, EBITDA, cash, pipeline, churn, over and over and over again, just with different numbers and different company logos at the top of the slide. At times, it can feel like being a high school English teacher grading essays on The Great Gatsby. Sure, the essays are all different, but after the 15th one, they sort of start to blur together. Until a great piece of work stands out. So how do you stand out? What is it that takes you from just another update to, man, I love working with these people in the minds of your investors? What your investors want from you. I'll tell you what it's not about. It's actually not about having better results. Obviously, good results help. I will never complain about good results. We definitely like people who beat their plan. Please do not read this article and then stop beating your plan. My point is, results aren't the whole story. Some of the most beloved management teams out there are running businesses that are currently getting their asses kicked. And some of the most exhausting management teams are actually hitting their numbers fairly predictably. The difference is this. The teams we love, the teams your investors love, are the ones who make the so what obvious. If you work in an investor-backed business, a lot of your interactions with us happen in what I call review-like settings. There's quotes around those. Board meetings, financial reviews, commercial reviews, strategy reviews. So many reviews. These are the structured times you set aside to review all the metrics and slide decks that explain what you're doing, how it's going, and what you're doing next. And I am amazed at how many people completely miss the point of these reviews. Most people think the point is to get through the data, to get through the slide presentation, to demonstrate that, yes, they are in fact doing their job. Look at all the things I worked on. Look at all these metrics I tracked. Look at how thoroughly I've documented what's going on inside my part of the business. But guess what? We already assume you're doing your job. If we weren't assuming that, we'd have way bigger problems than a boring board deck. We'd be having a different conversation entirely, probably in a different conference room with different people present. The point of these reviews is not to prove you're working hard. The point is to use the data and the materials to reach agreements. Agreements about what's going on, what the big challenge or opportunity is within what's going on, what our options are for dealing with that challenge or opportunity, and which option we should choose. Put differently, we don't want you to throw everything you're doing at us. That isn't going to make us like you more. We don't care how much you get done. We care that you are taking care of the number one problem in your area of the business, the thing that is keeping us from becoming the company we're supposed to be. And this is where most people go wrong. They give us data, but they don't give us interpretation. They give us updates, but they don't give us insight. They tell us what happened, but they don't tell us what it means or what we should do about it. How to have a better conversation with your investors. So how do you actually do this? Let me show you. Instead of talking like this, revenue came in at $2.3 million, down from $2.5 million last quarter. New bookings were 47 versus our target of 52. Pipeline coverage is at 3.2x. Win rate in Q3 was 23% compared to 26% in Q2. Average deal size held steady at 44K. Sales cycle times increased from 67 days to 73 days. We had 3 enterprise deals slip to Q4. Marketing spend was up 8%, but lead volume was flat. Here's a breakdown by segment, by region, by product line. And yes, I know you have all those other metrics ready to go on backup slides 103 through 129. Please keep them there for now. Instead of that, try something like this. Look, we missed our bookings number for the second quarter in a row, and while we had a few big deals slip, the major driver of the miss was weakness in our non-enterprise segment. In that segment, win rates dipped below 20%, which is nowhere near good enough. We reviewed call recordings and we did not like what we saw. Basically, our discovery and demo skills need serious work. So we're launching a project to recertify the team, and we're tightening up our deal approval process while we do it. Do you see the difference between those two conversations? In the first version, you're making us, your investors, do the work. You're handing us a pile of puzzle pieces and say, here's everything, you figure it out. We have to sift through all the data, figure out what's signal versus noise, synthesize it into a coherent narrative, and then figure out what the actual problem is. In the second version, the better version, you've done the thinking. You've connected the dots. You've looked at the data, applied your knowledge of the business, formed a point of view, the important part, and named the actual problem or opportunity we should be talking about. And now we can have a real conversation about what's going on, what matters, what we should do about it, and this is where I come in, what support, resources, or help you need to get it done. Those conversations are fun. We love having those conversations. It's not actually about us liking you. Here's the real thing, though. Us liking you isn't actually the point. It's not even what this article is really about. The liking is a side effect. It's the exhaust that a management team who thinks about their business the right way produces. We like you because we know you're thinking critically about where you are, where you want to go, and what's in the way, without us being in the room. We like you because you're playing offense, not defense. We like you because you're not waiting for us to tell you what the problem is or what to do about it. But what we really like, what makes us super excited to meet and work with you, is that this kind of thinking makes our job easier while it makes the business better. When you show up with clarity about the real problem and a point of view on what to do about it, we can actually help you. We can pressure test your thinking. We can share what we've seen work in similar situations. We can make a decision and move forward. We can literally give you money to solve the problem. When you show up with only data and updates, we're stuck in the mud trying to figure out what's actually going on. And that's when we need to do the awkward investor thing where we ask you in a public setting, so what I think you're trying to tell us is... And here's the side effect you'll notice when you start doing this. When you start connecting the dots in this way, you and your investors will actually have more fun when you get together. I know that sounds weird. Fun and board meetings is not a combination of words that appears that often in the natural world. But hear me out. You wouldn't have the job you have if you didn't like solving problems. Nobody becomes a VP of sales or a CFO or a chief product officer because they love maintaining the status quo. You got here because you like figuring stuff out and you like making things better. It's the same deal with us. We buy imperfect businesses on purpose because we believe we can help solve the problems or find the people who can help solve the problems, standing in the way of the business reaching its full potential. Nobody gets into private investing because they love reviewing slides and nodding along to updates. We get into it because we like fixing things. So when you show up and say, here's the problem, here's what I think it means, here's what I think we should do, that's interesting. That's engaging. That's the work we like to do. The more you talk about the problems, the more progress we make together. And making progress is fun. That's the whole point of the job, our job and yours. The best management teams don't just report what happened. They interpret what it means, identify what matters most, and present a point of view on what to do about it. They connect the dots. They take a stance. That's what separates operators who get it from those who are just trying to present the evidence that they're doing their job. Your investors aren't looking for perfection. They're not expecting you to have all the answers. They're not even expecting you to be right all the time. What they're looking for is clarity, prioritization, and judgment. Give them that, and they'll love you forever. If you like that article or you work inside an investor-backed business, I hope you'll think about checking out Hello Operator on Substack. It's where I share all the frameworks, tools, and mindsets that I use with my portfolio companies, and it's written just for you. Plus, it's free, and it always will be. You can find everything at hellooperator.substack.com. And if you have questions you'd like me to answer in my writing around the podcast, shoot me a note at podcast@hellooperator.com. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.